I just love these 3D text effects. And all these use the same tool. Hi, I'm Sonia. I'll show you how it's done. If you watch to the end, you're going to see me take them apart. So let's go. I'm here in my Illustrator workspace. You don't have to work like this, but I suggest you open the symbol panel and the appearance panel. They could all be found here in the Windows tab. So first I want to talk about the symbols, how it works, which one work. I did a lot of the grunt work to save you time, and I just wanted to go through a few things. So first, text. When you make text, some people will suggest to, right click. Whoops. You can't select the text. It has to be just in a box for it to work, but they say create outline. You don't need to do that for it to work. And also, once you do that, you can't edit the text. You can't change the words. You can't change the font. So I suggest that you don't, because it'll work out just fine anyways. And you can always go back and edit, even if it's made into a symbol. Okay, so that's text. Then I want to talk about swatches. Swatches, you could not create outlines, but if you do that, then you won't get this light effect. So when you're really sure you got the right size, the right font, the right swatch, everything, then you could outline and go back and get this uh, light effect. Then the other thing I want to talk about is the brushes. I wasn't too sure if it was going to work, but it does. So what you could do is just create a line, decent line, so that you could fill your shape. And then you open your panel and you just apply it. And that's it. It applied it. Once you've done that, you open your symbol and it's as easy as just dragging it in and click OK. And you've got your new symbol with the brush. And brushes, there's a lot that you get in the system already, but there's so much more you can find on Adobe for free. So you could go and check that out. Okay. And then the other thing that I tried was AI art. So I created um, a planet system. I'm just going to copy it by holding it Alt and selecting all of them. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just going to drag it in. And there you go. I have another symbol ready to go. So that's pretty simple and also versatile. So let's move on to the shape part. I went ahead and created a circle and a square. Notice how my circle doesn't have a fill, it's a stroke. And to create rings, this is very important. So I'm going to go to Effects, 3D, Classic, Extrude. Now I already have depth, but if I want to increase my depth, I'm going to go to Extrude Depth. And it's giving me a bigger cylinder. This comes in handy when you have something like the swashes where you need height. This kind of saves you the guesswork. And then I want you to look at what happens with the perspective. This is the main part that I want you to take from this. See how it, instead of being a cylinder now, it's a cone. Let's see what happens when we do the same thing with the square. Effect 3D. But for this one, we're going to go to Classic also, but we need to use Revolve. See how it's a full shape. This is an empty cone, and this one is a full because we have a fill. And also notice that there's no extrude depth anymore, but there's an offset path. The offset path is going to create an opening in the center. See, but that's going to be something I'm going to talk about later. But we do have perspective, and it reacts totally different. You see, it doesn't give us the same effect as our cylinder did. And this is going to help you, like understanding this is going to help you choose which one you're going to use. Like for instance, this particular one, see how I notice how I used the square? It's because I wanted it to recede gradually and decrease size, like almost like a spiral. And I think that covers pretty much what you need to understand from the shapes. Let's move on. Okay, for the fun part. In some cases, the most nitty gritty part. So now that I had unselected my circle, I can't go back to my 3D effects because if I do that, it's going to create another instance. And trust me, you don't want to do that. It just goes all sorts of crazy. So I have to go through the appearance panel to access my initial effect. I'm going to go to Map Art and I want to select the side face, the outer side face. So this would be the inner. So I want to take the outer side face and apply my swash or my symbol. And I'm going to manually place it in because I find that scale to fit often stretches and I don't want that. So I'm going to make my geometry invisible and I'm going to shade my artwork. And that's it. Now, if you wanted to, see, you have a light, which is really fun in my opinion. And you could change the color of that light. You could even add a second light and change all the settings of the intensity of the ambient light. And so you have a lot of things to play with to create the effect that you want. Now, notice how it's upside down. For this case, because it's a cylinder, I just have to flip it over, and now it's good to go. But what if I wanted to use the cone? Then it wouldn't quite work out. So in that case, I would go back to my symbol, double click on it. It's going to open edit mode. And from here, I could right click, transform, reflect. I want to reflect horizontally, click OK, and click out. Now it hasn't updated because I have to go back in my appearance panel and see as soon as I clicked in, it applied the change that I've made. I don't need to redo everything. There you go. For the square, it's going to be pretty much the same steps as we've seen before, except it offers a few more options. I'm going to go to Map Art, select the right face, apply the brush that I did before, the symbol, and I'm going to stretch it out. Make my geometry invisible, and there you go. Now, I wanted to show you a bit of some of the effects that I was showing you. These use square, and depending on just moving it around, making it smaller, making it bigger, will affect um, the way it behaves. See, this one was very unexpected. I tried to rotate it and see how it's going in more, and then poof, it comes out. So I think by playing around with these, you could come up with some really nice effects. It works with all these different things, so that's pretty flexible. So we're going to move on to the most complicated of all of them. Okay, so this one is, in my opinion, the hardest one, the one that requires the most fiddling around. But I think it's fun to watch. So I didn't want you guys to have to wait for me to watch me fiddle. So I've done this previously to make sure that it wouldn't take me too long to show you. You could uh, pay attention to my numbers here, but every little thing counts, right? We'll say every number makes a difference. I'm going to use scale to fit because it worked out. I'm going to remove um, the color so I could see through. And I think that's not bad. Maybe reduce this slightly. Okay, there we go. So that's pretty good. But I just want to show you how easily it comes apart. Like it really doesn't, you're just a little bit off and then it doesn't work. You increase your offset and it just goes completely in different direction. See, this is what I mean. So, but it's kind of fun to know. So I just wanted to show you that's another way to use the 3D. So we're on to our last example. This is where we're gonna take stuff apart. For my last example, I've already created a circle and my symbol. I'm just gonna select my shape, apply my classic revolve, and then just give it a slight offset, just to give it a bit of a bigger center. Go to my map art. Now I only have one face, right? Because it goes around and round. So I'm gonna apply my symbol, scale to fit. Yeah, it worked out good. Make my shape invisible. Click OK. And now I'm just gonna rotate it slightly because I want to see a little bit the underneath. Like so. It's a little bit tricky. I think it's easier if you place your shape before you apply your text. Now, as you can tell, you need to do some cleaning up. So we're going to expand appearance and then expand again and then ungroup twice. Now, I'm going to release the clipping mask because there's a few clipping masks now. But I'm going to remove one. And you see, just like that, I cleaned it up. But you could also play with all these different shapes and you could also use the clipping masks. You see how there's a mask here? That's the one that I've already released. If I just select that one, I should be able to move it. It's grabbing everything. You see, I could remove just the mask and use it for something else. I'm going to show you what I mean. I'm going to put this crazy layer back on. This one here was created with a mask similar to this one. All I did was do envelope distort with it. And then all these different pieces, like this arrowhead here, I've used it to create this kind of Christmas tree thing. And I thought if you could put lights, it would really look like a Christmas tree. And then there's this center part that's flipped, kind of looks like a cyclone. And then there was this part, which I also thought was interesting. And I started playing with this shear and just moving it around to see what different things I could do with it. And then there was this part, and like there's all sorts of different parts to it that you could play around and create different things. So I hope this inspired you and gave you some ideas. If you stuck all around all the way to here, I guess you've enjoyed yourself a little. So you may consider subscribing, liking, leaving me a comment, your questions. I'd be happy to answer you. So till next time, stay curious and creative. Bye for now.